If you care about understanding war beyond slogans and surface-level morality plays, subscribe to Hidden History's WWII right now, because this channel exists for people who want the uncomfortable, complex truth. Today, we're going to walk through the entire Second World War as it unfolded from the German perspective, not to excuse crimes or glorify defeat, but to understand how a modern, educated society marched into total war, fought it with ruthless efficiency, and ultimately collapsed under the weight of its own strategic, political, and moral failures. If you're a serious history buff or a survival-minded thinker, this perspective matters because it shows how states actually fail under pressure. Why Germany entered the war believing it was inevitable and winnable. From Berlin's viewpoint, World War II did not begin as a reckless gamble, but as the continuation of unresolved conflicts from 1918. The Treaty of Versailles was experienced inside Germany not as justice, but as national humiliation, economic strangulation, and strategic paralysis. By the mid-1930s, German planners believed that if war was coming anyway, it had to come on Germany's terms and timeline. This mindset is critical to understand because it shaped every decision that followed. Rearmament, conscription, and industrial mobilization were framed internally as defensive necessities. For modern analysts, this is a lesson in how perceived injustice and strategic fear can override rational restraint, especially when political leadership reinforces grievance rather than moderating it. How early victories reinforced dangerous assumptions about modern warfare. Germany's rapid defeats of Poland, France, and much of Western Europe created a false sense of inevitability. From the German military perspective, blitzkrieg was not just a tactic, it was proof that speed, initiative, and combined arms could compensate for limited resources. Officers genuinely believed they had solved modern war. This belief mattered because it discouraged long-term planning. Germany did not prepare for prolonged attritional conflict, did not fully mobilize its economy until late, and assumed enemies would collapse psychologically once defeated militarily. Survivalists and strategists can apply this lesson directly. Early success often hides structural weakness, and systems built for speed often fail under endurance stress. Why the invasion of the Soviet Union was seen as a strategic necessity. Operation Barbarossa was not viewed inside German leadership as optional madness, but as unavoidable. Germany depended on imported food, oil, and raw materials, and planners believed that Britain remained in the war only because it expected Soviet or American intervention. Knocking out the USSR was seen as the decisive solution to all strategic problems. What German planners underestimated was depth, resilience, and ideological resistance. The war in the East became a war of annihilation, destroying any chance of pragmatic compromise. The practical lesson here is brutal but clear. When ideology overrides logistics and intelligence, even the most capable force can bleed itself dry. How Germany adapted tactically while collapsing strategically. By 1942 and 1943, German forces were often tactically superior on the battlefield. German units learned rapidly, adapted equipment, improved defensive doctrine, and inflicted enormous losses on their enemies. Yet these battlefield efficiencies could not compensate for strategic isolation. Germany faced enemies with greater populations, deeper industrial bases, and secure access to global resources. This is a crucial insight for serious analysts. tactical excellence cannot overcome strategic imbalance. In modern terms, no amount of elite training can substitute for supply chains, alliances, and sustainable production. What total war did to German civilians and internal stability. From the German civilian perspective, the war transformed daily life into, well, a survival exercise. Allied bombing, food rationing, forced labour integration, and the collapse of normal commerce pushed society into, constant crisis management. Yet morale did not simply collapse overnight. Propaganda, fear of retribution, and hope for technological miracles sustained resistance far longer than outsiders expected. This matters today because it demonstrates how populations can endure extreme hardship when alternatives appear worse. For preparedness-focused viewers, it reinforces the importance of decentralized resilience, community networks, and adaptability under prolonged stress. Why Germany ultimately lost despite fighting to the end. Germany lost not because its soldiers stopped fighting, but because the system supporting them disintegrated. Fuel shortages grounded aircraft. Rail networks collapsed under bombing. Training standards fell as experienced personnel were killed. Leadership became increasingly detached from reality. The final years of the war show how centralized, ideologically rigid systems fail catastrophically when feedback is ignored. For anyone studying collapse scenarios, this is, honestly, a textbook case of how denial accelerates destruction. What serious historians and survival thinkers should take from the German experience. Studying World War II from the German perspective is not about sympathy. It is about understanding how modern states slide into disaster through miscalculation, overconfidence, and ideological blindness. Apply this knowledge by questioning narratives of inevitability, by analyzing logistics before tactics, and by recognizing how early victories can mask fatal weaknesses. History rewards those who learn from failure more than those who celebrate success. If this kind of deep, uncomfortable history matters to you, subscribe to Hidden Histories WWII, share this video with fellow serious researchers, and keep this channel alive. Understanding the past at this level isn't entertainment, it's preparation.